Hey collectors, welcome to Star Wars Collected. I'm Jonathan. If you're new here, I hope you consider sticking around and subscribing. But if you've been here before, I want you to smash that like button like Rey beating the crap out of Finn at a Jakku outpost, because what I have for you guys today is Rey's Quarterstaff. I also have for you an amazing story about customer service from Denuo Novo. Let's get into it. This piece represents the last piece that I had ordered from Anovos but never got, and Denuo Novo has made me whole. I've been following Denuo Novo ever since they launched the brand category. You can find all kinds of videos on my channel about Denuo Novo. I've been there following all the news. I've talked to the brand manager a couple times, gotten people a lot of answers, and in my experience, they have delivered on their promises to fulfill the Lucasfilm licensed items, the Star Wars licensed items at least. It was part of the agreement with Lucasfilm to take over that license, was to make customers whole when it came to that. There's also a lot of people who still think that Anovos and Denuo Novo are the same thing, which is just flat out wrong. This, interestingly enough though, is my second Rey Quarterstaff. And that is because my first one was not particularly good. And we're gonna find out now, putting it together, whether that was a manufacturing defect or if that is just the product line as a whole. Now, when I found out that mine was not as it should have been, I contacted Mark, who is the brand manager for Denuo Novo, as well as the customer service, and they got me squared away. Now, it took a little bit of time, but in that time, Denuo Novo asked me for very detailed videos and instructions, and it seemed like they really wanted to know what was wrong with mine, not just because I'm the world's most minor YouTube personality, but because I think they have spent a lot of time making these products and getting them to customers, and they wanted to know if there was a quality control issue going on, how they could make it better, things of that nature. Now, I already shot that video, but before I released it, I decided I'd reach out to them and just give them the opportunity to say, you know, yes, we've been experiencing issues with these, or no, that's a weird fluke. Let's try to figure out a different way to do it. So this is my second Rey Quarterstaff. We're gonna go ahead and put it together now. My first one had issues with trying to get it all together. There is a kind of a foam core to this that was basically being pulled out as I screwed it together, and it would not line up straight. No matter what I did, they would kind of end up whopper-jawed. So I'm hoping that that issue has been taken care of. I know that it's taken a little bit of time for them to get this product to market. One of the last ones, honestly, but it is all kind of coming together. And for me personally, Anovos had missed out on sending me First Order Stormtrooper armor, the Executioner helmet, multiple Rebel pilot helmets, quite a few things. They probably owed me about $2,000 worth of stuff by the time it was all said and done. And at one point I just sort of thought that it wasn't gonna happen, that I was just gonna be out that money. And Denuo Novo kind of swooped in and took care of that, and took care of me, and took care of so many others. And I really can't thank them enough. And I think I'm kind of getting to the point now where I'm starting to see Denuo Novo on its own. They've been sort of the Band-Aid, the Anovos Band-Aid for so long, is how I've been viewing them, as the people who have come in and fixed the issues we've all been having. But in conversations with Mark at Star Wars Celebration in London, I can really see where they're really thinking about where can they take things next, what can they offer, what needs are out there in the community, the fan community, as far as maybe making some custom Mandalorian armor, or they just released custom Rebel pilot helmets. That was something that he and I had discussed then that hadn't been released at that point. So we have all of the major components here at this point. We have this piece here. I believe this is the top of the staff. We also have the bottom of the staff here, and the piece that goes in between. We'll go ahead and put them together and see how they look. We have this piece of art here that kind of gives us an idea of what the staff should look like all assembled together. This is a piece that, I pre-ordered when the sequel trilogy was coming out. If I was placing fresh orders today, I'm not sure if it's something that I would purchase, but I do love one-to-one scale collectibles. So I am still excited to have this and have it be a piece on my shelf. Outside of perhaps some of Rey's lightsabers, this is sort of the iconic piece that I think we're all gonna think of when we think of Rey. When she shows up in The Force Awakens, we were convinced that this was going to be a lightsaber. For a while, we were convinced that part of this was Darth Plagueis' lightsaber. But I'm seeing here at the end that this very much, especially this dial piece here, does look a lot like her lightsaber when it's all said and done. As we screw it together here, I'm feeling it come together and tighten. That is infinitely smoother than the first time on the piece that I had. We're gonna go ahead now and put this piece in as well. Before I do that, you know, this is going together so much smoother. I do want to note though that both of these, the screw part is kind of off center, although it kind of looks like the mounting point in this here may also very well be kind of off center. So as long as it all comes together at the end, it doesn't really matter whether it's right in the middle or not. What I was having before were separations here. It was literally pulling the core of this out as I screwed it in. This does look and feel a little different than the first one I had. So I'm glad to see that that first one was a fluke. So we are all in together now, and this is infinitely better than my first one. My first one was nowhere near straight, and this one is, especially this top part here, very, very good. Trying to get an idea here on this end, whether this one's quite as straight as it needs to be. It seems like it could be a little straighter. Some slight adjustments here and there will probably help that out in the long run. So Rey, of course, doesn't just carry this around the desert the entire time. She has a strap as well, and they supply that. This was a piece that I thought about just 3D printing a lot of times, but honestly, it just sort of came down to sort of time and wanting a very accurate piece. And to a certain extent, this piece, I am not as comfortable working with soft goods. Even though this doesn't look particularly complex here, it's just a little bit outside of my current comfort zone. And it looks like the adjustable part maybe goes up here. You'll see there is a Star Wars kind of sticker here, Denuo Novo, made in USA, which is pretty cool to see. But that is a nice little place for them to put their branding because it gets hidden and covered up by this. So that goes on there like so. And then we do the same thing down here. All right. Right off the bat, just much happier with this piece than I was the first one. Honestly, guys, I don't think I've never not recommended a product on the page before. I do a lot of research before I purchase, and I also try to take into account that you know, screen accuracy is kind of an illusion and a lot of other variables, and a lot of times I'm buying things secondhand to try to save a little bit of money on it and all that. So, you know, there comes a little bit of forgiveness with all that stuff, but it just wasn't coming together before, and it was honestly kind of damaging itself as I put it together. So it was going to sort of be the first product that I didn't recommend just based off of the quality of product that I was getting. It just didn't make sense to me that that would be what Denuo Novo was putting out, because they've been doing a really great job. So that's why I'm really glad that I reached out to them and have this product now, and can now look at it and at least say that I wouldn't not recommend you purchase it. Now, one of the criticisms that I've seen of this piece, and I had it as well, and I will say that I continue to have it, but maybe a little less than my first time, is that there are some very severe seam lines from the molding process. They happen on pretty much every type of piece, but they are the type of thing that when done properly can be hidden, or if you do it in multiple components, can be machined a different way. I'm sure that they were doing it the way they did it to keep the cost, you know, something which was reasonable for people to be able to purchase, but also something that would kind of match what a lot of people paid for it. But as it kind of goes here, it kind of gets a little bit worse. There is some fairly poor matchups here. And as you come down to the end here, there's this ring that goes all the way around here. And that is got like a kind of a ugly jaunt in it because it just does not line up. You're gonna find that that also has a mold line on the other side. Again, here, we are not matching up hardly at all on that piece. And that is disappointing. That's not what you want to see on a piece from Denuo Novo. Denuo Novo kind of has a license for being a replica company. They are not Hasbro, which is going to have some playability in there and to keep costs down and all that stuff. They have to do it a certain way. That mold line does consist all the way down the piece on two sides. So again, this can be positioned in such a way where you're going to reduce the sight of that on most things, but it is going to be a little bit hard to completely hide. I'm also looking at the top here. This top piece is fairly distorted, kind of goes off to the one side a little bit more so than it does the other side. Now, we don't know what the original prop necessarily looked like. This might be extremely accurate, and you know, we have this thing called idealized versus authenticity when it comes to props and replicas, and it's quite possible that the original prop from Lucasfilm had a lot of mold lines like this. Sometimes props are not nearly as fancy or well done as you think they are. A lot of times they are really kind of just slapped together, but then you have sort of the idealized version, which you'll find in a lot of things, like, you know, when you get a helmet or something like that from a company, that's a little bit more of how you kind of envisioned it would really be in real life. So I haven't done enough research on Rey's quarterstaff, the actual prop, in person to know whether that is super accurate or not, but I'm being a little nitpicky. It does, you know, this is obviously Rey's quarterstaff. It has some really good color on here. I really enjoy the weathering that's done here. You have a decent amount of dirt. This very much looks like rags. It is a good looking piece here. Now, what's interesting is the photo here shows different colors. It shows it sort of all being in that cream and red or cream and brown kind of colors. And this actually has a fair amount of green on it, almost like a dark green, sort of a sage, and then a red down here. So I'm not really sure which of those two is also the more accurate. But final thoughts on this piece, guys. I am glad that I have it in my collection. It's not a must buy for everyone out there. I think if you're a big Rey fan, I think it makes sense to have her quarterstaff in your collection. The seam lines on this are going to drive me a little crazy, I can tell you that right off the bat, but I can change my vote from not being able to recommend this prop to being able to recommend this prop if you think this is a prop for you. I don't think you'll be super disappointed with this or anything like that. It does have some pretty good weathering on it. It looks pretty legitimate, it looks very real, and obviously it is a licensed piece from Denuo Novo, so if you're into pieces that are actually licensed by Lucasfilm, then this is probably the piece to get for you. I mostly wanted to make this video to kind of give you guys my story about Denuo Novo and how they seem to really care, that they, at least as far as taking care of me as a customer, I really appreciate that they took the time to understand what was going on with their product, to kind of address that issue and hopefully learn from that issue. That meant a lot to me as a customer, as a consumer, and as someone who reviews and recommends products to you guys. It's really important to me that I'm sending you to a company that I think will actually take good care of you. So if you really like Rey, it's probably a cool piece for you to pick up. Collectors, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give me a like. If you like videos like this, make sure you subscribe. It really helps a small channel like mine grow. We have a ton of stuff back here behind me. We have boxes from Sideshow, Hot Toys, NYC. We have a bunch of lightsabers, all kinds of things back there that I'm gonna be unboxing here on this channel. We try to get a video out about once a week, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. And in the meantime, guys, make sure you're following me on Instagram. It's a place where you and I can interact a little bit more directly. I'm always posting up deals and funny memes and polls and things like that whenever I find them. So it's a place for us to have a little bit more fun when I'm not posting a video. And with that, guys, see ya.